G'day, and welcome to my review of Eyes Like the Sky by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I'm going through my vinyl record collection to determine whether an LP deserves to stay in the collection or get put in the bin. Eyes Like the Sky is King Gizzard's second studio album, and it came out in 2013. The album is bizarre to describe. It's the band playing music along to a Western story audiobook. It really does make for a very unique listening experience. It is usually regarded as one of the least liked King Gizzard albums in their entire discography, but I wholeheartedly disagree with the general consensus. But before we go into my thoughts on the album, let's take a look at the two presses that I happen to own. The first version I picked up was the 2018 Flightless label repress. This was the first time the album had been redone after the original pressings were made, of which only 500 were pressed. The Flightless reissue comes with unique artwork on the front, with an inner sleeve with a great write-up by the band leader Stu McKenzie. It goes into about how he created the album back in 2013. It also displays the original artwork on the flip side, as well as a type-up of the narration to follow along the story. My second copy that I own is another repress, but was done only in 2023. Once King Gizzard had left Flightless Records, they started repressing a lot of their earlier albums again in 2023. I really don't buy many duplicates of albums unless there are stark differences between versions, but I've had an exception for Eyes Like the Sky, as this reissue comes with the original artwork again. The inner sleeve has the narration typed up and then a picture of the Flightless reissue cover on the other side. The music on both of these releases sound identical to my ears, but the only difference being that the 2017 is played at 45 RPM, while the 2023 is a 33 RPM record. Technically, the 45 RPM should sound better than the 33, but the music is lo-fi enough to not really make a difference. The music itself is very interesting, and I'm drawn in by the very first notes of the album. It sets up the album perfectly. Loud guitar riffs, explosions, bangs, and of course the audio narration behind it. Every time the title track plays, I look forward to listening to the whole thing through. The first three songs for me are such a good run of tracks. The melodies are so catchy and they play around the narration really well. But my personal favourite song on the album is the third track, The Raid.
They were not after alcohol. They were after guns and young children to raise as their own. War made it necessary to take child captives.
The galloping drum part, the soaring guitar riffs, the bells and other sound effects that play create such an amazing atmosphere on the song. It is a very exciting track, and it's one of the few that actually works well in isolation away from the rest of the album. Eyes Like the Sky continues in this similar vein for the remainder of its 28-minute runtime. I'll play just a few clips of my personal highlights from the rest of the album.
Towards the killing ground. By now is a straddle horse and making for a Yavapai stronghold, half a day's ride away.
The runtime is another positive for me. It really doesn't overstay its welcome at all. It works great for this style of album, and I don't think I'd enjoy it as much if it was around 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Of the early King Gizzard albums, Eyes Like the Sky is the one that I come back to by far the most. It has a defined theme and an idea that continues for the entirety of the album. Yes, it is the black sheep in the discography, and I can see why a lot of fans don't gel with it, but I have a soft spot for this album. The band never returned to this type of sound again, which further makes this a unique record. If you're looking for a copy, it is super accessible now, with all of these different represses out. Don't even bother looking for an original, unless you feel like paying 10 times what the represses go for. There are a ton of the 2017 Flightless represses available on Discogs for sale, but I wouldn't really bother with any of those, because there's brand new ones that you can buy from King Gizzard's new label. The US store has new old stock of the 2017 issue, and the Aussie store has two different pressings of the 2023 reissue, as well as some 2017s left over. To conclude, Eyes Like the Sky, it gets an unnecessary amount of negative attention by the King Gizzard fanbase as a whole. The record is definitely worth keeping, and I really enjoy revisiting it when I'm in the mood for it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. See you again soon.